Siegel buys a vacant lot at 250 Del Fern Drive in Holmby Hills, where he builds a $150,000 mansion. The neighborhood is also home to Bing Crosby, Judy Garland, Humphrey Bogart, and Alan Ladd. The house not only boasts an Olympic-sized swimming pool, but a pool house large enough for a family of 5. In these rare home movies, we see a very different side of Ben Siegel, the relaxed family man who enjoys the company of his children. No one has ever seen actual footage of Siegel until now. For all of his socializing, he's careful never to be filmed in public by newsreel cameras. Noted in the society columns as a wealthy sportsman, Ben is happy to perpetuate this idea. Like so many who come west, he wants to put his dangerous past behind him and establish the appearance of a successful Beverly Hills businessman. But his business is still crime. Looking for a way to muscle in on the Hollywood unions, he creates the Screen Extras Guild.
What he did is he found a way to control a lot of people, make a lot of money, and basically get his foot in Hollywood and get in the power structure.
Socializing becomes a major pastime. Siegel's often spotted with a stunning woman, usually an actress or showgirl. Among important friends, he numbers the Countess Dorothy Denise Taylor de Frazzo. A flamboyant socialite whose husband resides in Italy, the Countess hosts star-studded parties featuring such eccentric entertainment as this boxing match at her Beverly Hills estate. As well-connected as she is well-heeled, she introduces Siegel to the cream of Hollywood, Los Angeles society, and the smart international set.
My father, like a lot of people in that era, considered Siegel kind of a star. And I was in awe of him because I knew what I thought he did and who he did it with and to whom he did it. So it was a little bit different shaking hands with him than it was with Gregory Peck. It was a different kind of respect.
Perhaps Siegel's oddest adventure with the Countess occurs when he accompanies her to Italy, purportedly to try and sell an experimental explosive device to dictator Benito Mussolini in the days before the U.S. enters the war. While there, Siegel supposedly meets Hermann Göring and Joseph Goebbels, 2 of Hitler's most hated henchmen. Being Jewish, Siegel understandably takes an immediate personal dislike to these 2 top Nazis and tells the Countess that he plans to bump them off. The frantic Countess, knowing only too well the stories about Siegel's rash temper, talks Siegel out of the scheme by pointing out the danger in which it would place her Italian husband and his family. Siegel's preoccupation with the Countess wanes as the woman who will change his life forever is about to re-enter the picture. 1939 is the year of the Southern Belle in Hollywood. Gone with the Wind opens to rave reviews, while Alabama's Virginia Hill moves to Los Angeles to reunite with Ben Siegel. Growing up in a poor family of 9 children in a small Alabama town, Virginia Hill, then 17, heads for the bright lights of Chicago. She soon connects with the mob, learning to dress and act with sophistication. She begins as a money launderer, traveling throughout the eastern seaboard carrying cash for the Chicago syndicate.
She was what today they would call a bimbo. She was like, to me, like a big showgirl. And probably would have been a showgirl if, life had taken it that way.
She was blonde. She had a great figure. She wore gorgeous clothes, gorgeous jewelry, and swiveled her way around,
Hill and Siegel meet when Virginia is ordered to continue her activities in Los Angeles. The sparks of their first New York meeting reignite, Soon they become a hot item, making love all over town. They go to Falcon's Lair, Rudolph Valentino's former home, where Virginia first stays. They also frequent Raff's home in Coldwater Canyon, where Virginia brings her own silk sheets. Later, they stay at 1720 Coldwater Canyon, which Virginia rents for $385 a month. They register under the alias Mr. and Mrs. James Hill when they check into their regular apartment 6D at the venerable Chateau Marmont Hotel.
He kept an apartment in the Chateau Marmont, which was right across from mine. He didn't live there, but his social life worked out of the Chateau Marmont because he was married and I think had 2 children then. And he was very puritanical about it, mix business with pleasure.
Virginia calls Siegel Baby Blue Eyes, which he hates. He calls her by a nickname she once picked up in Mexico, Flamingo, so called for her long legs and red-headed tresses. Though the romance between Ben and Virginia sparks amorous passions, it's also an intense and tumultuous relationship at times.
They beat each other up, hated each other. She would slap him in public and humiliate him and cuss him out. The next thing you know, they'd be in bed together again.
Well, it was very combative, because I could hear them fighting. Today it would be not spousal abuse, they weren't married, but I mean, he belted her. It's not uncommon, she belted him.
In 1939, Siegel becomes embroiled in the only serious crime for which he's ever indicted. When Harry Big Greenie Greenberg, an enforcer for Murder Incorporated, threatens to turn informant, the New York mob puts out a contract on him. When Greenberg is spotted at a rooming house in Los Angeles, Siegel supposedly gets assigned the hit. Siegel asks for 2 gunmen from back east, Alan Tannenbaum and Frankie Carbo, to do the job. On the night of November 22, 1939, they lie in wait for Greenberg in front of his hotel. When he pulls up, 2 men open fire simultaneously and bump off Greenberg in his car. Tannenbaum and Carbo immediately return to New York. The police have no leads until another killer for Murder, Inc., Abe Rellis, turns informer against the infamous gang of killers and fingers Siegel, Tannenbaum, and Carbo for Big Greenie's murder. On the morning of August 16, 1940, 3 L.A. homicide detectives show up at Siegel's house to arrest him. Though Rellis actually fingers Siegel as one of the gunmen, it's highly unlikely.
These gangsters like Siegel, there's no way they could be near the scene of the killing, but they could order the killing. But like I say, they never carry it out themselves.
Siegel was no longer a hands-on guy with guns. You know, none of these guys ever carried weapons.
They haul him down to jail for questioning, where they book him for murder, then hold him without bail. Siegel arranges for legal wizard Jerry Geisler to represent him. Geisler is a well-known criminal defense attorney who will one day represent such illustrious clients as Charlie Chaplin, Errol Flynn, and Robert Mitchum. Siegel's incarceration is certainly no hardship. He has the run of the cell block, easy access to the telephone, and catered meals from his favorite restaurants. He even ventures out to nightclubs and dentist appointments dressed in his own clothes, which enrages the district attorney, who finds out about it on the front page of the L.A. Herald-Examiner. December 11, 1940. Assistant District Attorney Vernon Ferguson moves for dismissal of the case for lack of evidence. It seems that New York DA William O'Dwyer will not let the key witnesses in the case, Abe Rellis and Alan Tannenbaum, leave New York to testify in California. He's worried that they'll be killed on their way out west. Though Siegel will never again be arrested, the case gives him a notoriety that he angrily shuns. He's incensed that the papers refer to him as Bugsy, dragging up the hated nickname from his New York past that he'd hoped to bury. For Siegel, it's time to move on, and soon he sets his sights on a dream that will ensure his place in history and offer him a chance to create his own Hollywood. December 7th, 1941. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor plunges America into World War II. Almost overnight, the face of Los Angeles changes forever. Thousands flock to the Sunshine State to work in armaments factories. Soldiers pass through on their way to battlefields in the Pacific. Businesses spring up to accommodate this huge influx of workers. At 35, Siegel is too old to be drafted and, like most gangsters, doesn't enlist. He prefers to take advantage of the boom in war-related businesses on the home front. During these years in Los Angeles, the Dragna family continues to pressure Siegel to unite their wire services, a move he rejects. But expenses escalate as payoffs increase to city and county governments, city police, and county sheriffs. Gradually, Siegel cast around for other opportunities. He first starts going to Las Vegas, just over the Nevada border, where both gambling and prostitution are legal, to invest in a few small gambling joints, like the El Cortez and the El Rancho. Las Vegas is relatively undeveloped, just a Western hangout for the local crowd. The only spot of any interest is nearby Hoover Dam.
The original gambling establishment in Las Vegas consisted of a bunch of very small, modest casinos. No neon, no, it was Western.
I think it was called Glitter Gulch or some ridiculous name like that. And there was, you know, a wide open city, unlike it is now. There were whorehouses, which were, you know, legal. And as is now, there were gambling machines all over the place.
But Siegel begins to envision something bigger. He sees the potential of this desert oasis. The population in Los Angeles jumps from 1 million to 3 million in the decade following World War II. After long years of deprivation during the Depression, followed immediately by the horrors and hardships of the war, Americans want recreation. They want some place where they can forget the weariness and have some fun. To Siegel, Las Vegas provides the perfect answer.
Nellis Air Force Base was just outside Las Vegas. So we got to know Las Vegas pretty well. And that's when I first found out about the plans to actually build hotels on the Strip. And had I known anybody that I could, you know, I would have wanted to buy into it because it was obvious it was going to happen.
As Mo Sedway tells the story, Siegel calls him up in the summer of '45 and asks him to take a drive. Surveying the desolate stretches of scrub brush and cactus, Siegel talks of his dream to build a fabulous luxury hotel that will equal anything Monte Carlo has to offer. Great food, terrific entertainment, lavish rooms, and an atmosphere of elegance that Americans only dream of in the movies.
He envisioned this really big, massive, glitzy, glamorous hotel to draw, as he put it, the suckers from the big cities to come down to Vegas and lose their shirts.
In honor of Virginia, he names his new hotel Flamingo. Unlike the traditional Western cowtown approach that prevails in Reno and other Nevada casinos, this will be a gambling palace of class and refinement where men dress in black tie and women flaunt beautiful gowns and expensive jewelry. Obsessed with his idea, flamboyantly taking on the role of hotel entrepreneur, Siegel moves ahead. Though he has no experience in this area, he has unbridled enthusiasm. Travel is a major drawback to the whole idea, but he shrewdly foresees the growing field of transportation. He predicts the expansion of airline and train travel as the city becomes a popular tourist attraction. He paints a persuasive picture when he enlists the financial backing of his old pal Meyer Lansky and boss Lucky Luciano. He also encourages Hollywood friends to invest. The hotel's initial price tag is a staggering $1 million.
It was a gamble on his part, and of course the mob money got in there, and they were worried about their money, you know, and they didn't know whether this guy's a flake or not, or whether he's really got something going.
He hires developer Del Webb, a well-known contractor who will one day build the first retirement community, Sun City, in Arizona. An excited Siegel spends more and more time in the desert resort.